Writers can get help on webinars and YouTube and things like that and watch other people talk. But the thing that sets us apart at Prolific Writers Life is that we really connect people with people in face-to-face conversations online. So these are virtual meetings, but it's amazing how when the writers get to connect with the experts, they can form a bond, and that expert can really get to know their project and give very specific advice for all of our writers.
Welcome to Story Power, a bi-monthly podcast where my guests and I chat about stories and creativity in all different styles and formats. My name is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden, and my goal is to promote what Dale Carnegie stated in his famous book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said, instead of condemning people, let's try to understand them. Let's try to figure out why they do what they do. That's a lot more profitable and intriguing than criticism, and it breeds sympathy, tolerance, and kindness. To know all is to forgive all. It's my firm belief that the goal of most creative people is to try to understand themselves and others. That's what makes artwork of all kinds so compelling. But more than that, the personal stories of my guests promote understanding as well. Roger C. Schenck, a cognitive scientist, said, human beings are not ideally set up to understand logic. They are ideally set up to understand stories. It's my hope that Story Power will help us understand each other better by sharing the stories of my guests. Hello, today on Story Power, I am interviewing Lorraine Haataia again. We talked in 2022 about her business, Prolific Writers Life, and this is episode 97. So, Lorraine, I'm so excited to talk to you again because last time we talked about how your business serviced writers, but now today we want to talk about the experts that you try to have on board to help the writers. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on your show again, Lucinda. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. I'm excited to talk to you. So tell a little bit. I am not going to have you talk about so much about the writers thing because I'm going to link the previous episode that I had with you in the show notes here. But do talk about what is it that you are looking for when you're looking for experts for Prolific Writers Life?
Well, so an expert at Prolific Writers Life, the number one thing that we're looking for in our experts, Lucinda, is people who love helping writers. I mean, genuinely love helping them with their projects, having conversations with them, helping them move forward. It's truly the number one thing that this is their passion. Writers can get help on webinars and YouTube and things like that and watch other people talk. But the thing that sets us apart at Prolific Writers Life is that we really connect people with people in face-to-face conversations online. So these are virtual meetings, but it's amazing how when the writers get to connect with the experts, they can form a bond, and that expert can really get to know their project and give very specific advice for all of our writers.
So, what are some of the things that your experts are good at?
So we have experts, and it's interesting in our community because both writers and experts, it's a membership community. So we've had people come and go depending on the ebb and flow of their business, or some people will come and we had somebody, for example, who came for 3 years. He finished his book and then he moved on to something else. But, and sometimes with our experts, they get busy and then they're not an expert for a while and then they come back. But we've had a variety of experts. So an interesting kind of an expert is an audiobook expert. So writer might be thinking, hey, I want to do an audiobook, but I don't even know where to begin to start looking or thinking about that. Um, and truly, Lucinda, there are so many aspects to writing a book, publishing a book, and then marketing a book. So we have experts in all of those three categories. So on the writing side, we've had book coaches, and editors and illustrators. And so, there's different types of experts involved in helping with that writing process. When we come to the publishing side, could be like an illustrator, somebody to help with WordPress if somebody wants to publish a blog, book cover designers, literary agents. On the promoting side, this is the part that a lot of writers have a lot of trouble with is how do I promote myself? Maybe they don't like doing social media, but maybe they don't mind having a blog or a newsletter or doing workshops at the library. So there are many, many types of experts we want to work with in all of these three categories.
Yeah, that's great. So, and do you work with people who are looking for publishing traditional publishing, or do you have people who do independent publishing, or maybe they use a hybrid press?
All of the above. Yeah, we have some of our authors in the community have published traditionally. And I would say the majority of people who are coming to Prolific Writers Life are people who are trying to keep their hands in the process. So they might be, it's interesting. I heard this distinction. I just went to the Tucson Book Festival, and Christopher Locke from IBPA, the Independent Book Publishers Association, gave a presentation on self-publishing. And even though he called his presentation self-publishing, one of the things he said when he started his workshop was that a writer should never, ever self-publish, meaning do every single step themselves.
Right. Yeah.
Because there are too many aspects to editing, book formatting, book cover design, all of these steps, and even on the promotion side, it is much better for writers to work with a team or at least get expert help along the way through these steps of publishing. So, but what he said, and I think this is some lingo that IBPA is putting out, let's not self-publish, but let's call ourselves author publishers, where we're an author who is publishing our book, but we are indicating from that we're getting expert help, either individually through freelancers like we have at Prolific Writers Life, or potentially working with some sort of hybrid publisher.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I like that. Now, what is it? IBPA, what does that stand for again?
Independent Book Publishers Association.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I would like to find out about them.
Yes.
Okay. We have lived in Arizona for 27 or so years, and I've never gone to the Tucson Festival of Books. I guess I better go next March.
Sure.
Because I've heard so many great things about it. But, I'm not on their mailing list or anything. So March comes and I go, oh yeah, people are posting about going to the book festival. And I haven't even thought about it. So, so that's great. Do they have one in Phoenix? A similar kind of thing in Phoenix near where you live?
I don't, I've been in the Phoenix area for about 3 years. I do know that the Tucson one is the third largest in the country.
Oh, whoa.
So they have, so I don't know about a book festival in Phoenix, but now you've triggered me I should definitely look it up. But the Tucson one has about 140,000 people who come to it, and they had over 400 authors this year.
Wow.
There's presentations. It's on the University of Arizona campus. It's huge. You get a lot of exercise walking around, meeting everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's cool.
So yeah, I just came back from that a couple of weeks ago and did talk to authors and publishers and so forth about, coming on and considering becoming a freelance expert with us here at Prolific Writers Life.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, do you, in the marketing part, do you talk to or have people who talk to the authors about things like podcasting, maybe even becoming a podcaster themselves? Or I'm sure you probably have somebody who talks about blogging or newsletters, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and actually, if it's okay, maybe we can do a kind of a little deep dive into the three different areas.
Oh, yeah, let's do that.
Um, so so if we start with promoting, maybe we can work our way backwards because
Okay, that sounds good.
um, I don't know, we can start with the writing side and then publishing and promoting because promoting is kind of the final thing that a writer does, right? So if we do a deep dive into the writing side, so let's think about what can a writer think about when they're thinking about writing? So definitely blogging. So it's a way to kind of actually get their writing out there and build an audience before their book is out. So a blogging expert is somebody, and we are open to experts in all of these areas. So a blogging expert that can help our writers. Book coaches, there's all kinds of different book coaches. Some book coaches maybe specialize in memoir or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had book coaches and then editors. And again, sometimes people think, oh, you're a book editor, so you can edit any book. Well, no. Editors typically have a preference, just like a book coach, where they really prefer to edit romance or a particular genre or whatever that might be. So we don't need one editor. We are open to having, editors who like different varieties of genres. Now, on the writing side, one of my dreams is I would love us to have a writing marathon at some point with Prolific Writers Life. It doesn't have to necessarily be in November, with NaNoWriMo, but just a time when writers want to come in maybe and have an all-day Saturday. So if somebody has experience with setting up writing marathons, I would love to have that kind of expert. Journaling, somebody who can facilitate journaling workshops. Journaling can be especially helpful for somebody who's writing a book, a memoir, or writing about something that was traumatic in their life. They definitely have to process those emotions when they're working on that kind of book. So, and journaling can be just generally good for writers to just do that free writing and, let ideas flow. So, and then also writing workshop facilitators. There's all kinds of writing workshops that can happen. And then a writing retreat, a virtual writing retreat where maybe we start on a Friday and we go through a Sunday and we have different check-in points throughout that, that 3-day time period. But I would love to have a virtual writing retreat, and we need somebody to organize that, right? All these things take organization. We've had a writing conference with Prolific Writers Life, and I would love to have another one. So, and currently that expert is still on board, but she's really busy because she's working on a master's degree right now. So, somebody who likes to organize writing conferences. And then finally, just like a writing mentor, this could even be like text coaching. We've had somebody like this before, where if you just need somebody to check in with you every day and say, hey, did you get your 1,000 words done today, or whatever your goal might be. And then finally, also open mic. Now, open mic can also be promoting, but open mic is also a really good thing for writers they're just writing, but they just need to start getting that exposure, getting some feedback. So those are just some of the kinds of experts we're looking for in the writing category.
That's cool. Wow. That's a lot of different people with expertise that you need. Yeah, I like that. Okay, cool. So then what about the second segment?
Yeah, so the next step after somebody has their book written, let's assume that we have a new writer coming on and now they have their book written. So the next step is like, okay, my book's written. Now what? Now how do I get it published? Right.
Yeah.
So in fact, I talked to some different publishers at Tucson Book Festival, but any kind of publisher who really wants exposure to more writers, especially if they're open to a variety of genres and not super niche. or publishers who also they're already doing workshops on publishing. What we can do is we can promote their workshops through Prolific Writers Life as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then the other thing is, so we can publish through a publisher, like a book, a paperback, and so forth, or an ebook, and also audiobook experts. So, if somebody wants to have an audiobook, can they record on their own, or should they get narrators or audiobook experts to, read their book for them? So there's a whole world. The whole audiobook world is another whole world.
Oh, yeah, really. Yeah.
And then the other thing too is this is when we start going from writing to publishing and promoting. If somebody starts a website, let's say they start WordPress, WordPress website, then they might need a WordPress expert to help them get their website set up and get their blog set up and teach them some of the basics so they can navigate around. In addition to WordPress, there are other types, there are other platforms out there. So we're open to people who want to help writers set up their website. Also self-publishing experts. So, and again, let's be careful with the self-publish, meaning that an author publisher, we're always going to tell our writers to seek expert advice. That's the very reason for our community, is so that writers are not doing it on their own. But if somebody is out there who can help an author publisher get through those steps and be a guide,
Yeah.
that's very valuable.
Yeah.
And then we need book formatters, laying out that book. For the formats, whether it's an ebook or a paperback or whatever. And then another part here is, as we're publishing, we already need to be thinking about our book launch. So this is a really interesting niche, Lucinda. I would love to find somebody who is an expert at book launches, because there are so many steps and so many things we can do to rally out to our friends and family and say, hey, this is happening. Can you support me with my book launch? And then, setting up things locally. How do I reach out to my local bookstores or library and so forth, or local cafes, whatever. Another side for publishing is if somebody really does decide to either sign a contract, whether it's a hybrid publisher or traditional, is a literary lawyer. We'd love to have a literary lawyer on board who could provide advice to writers so that they don't sign a contract and then regret something that they signed. They didn't realize they just signed away their international rights or their audiobook rights or all of that. They don't even realize they did it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I had a podcast guest who did, that something like that happened to. It was, I think, a hybrid press, and she and several authors did the same thing. They signed up with this publisher, and the book was going to come out, and then he walked off with the money, everybody's money, and closed the business. And no, so she had to start over again. She had to get her rights back and all that. So actually, I guess with a hybrid publisher, you keep your rights. But that was a kind of a devastating experience. And so, yeah, I think that having the legal, somebody who knows how to read contracts and, stuff like that. I don't know how to do that. So.
Yeah, and it's definitely something you have to think about in that publishing process, is what rights are you signing away or keeping? And then a couple more in the publishing side would be book cover designers and even literary agents, especially literary agents who are have the time to talk to writers. We have this persona of a lot of literary agents who have stacks of, their email box is full. They don't even have time to respond, that kind of thing. But literary agent maybe who is retired and just loves helping people and they want to circle back and turn around and help writers, or, even a literary agent who has maybe made a career shift and they have a lot of experience with that area and can provide guidance. So, and that's just some examples, certainly there are more types of experts who can help writers to publish.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, um, what independent publishing place, where do you, like we did it with Smashwords, Apple Books, and then it at the time that we did my children's book and my first novel, it was CreateSpace, but now it's KDP, it's Kindle Direct Publishing. So yeah, you got to evaluate all those kinds of, need somebody to help you evaluate those kinds of uh, outlets for your book as well. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, so do you have anything else to say about that little segment, or do you want to move on to the marketing part?
No, I think that's about it on publishing and, even down to the details of should I buy my own ISBN? And if so, where do I go to get that? Right. So yeah, there's just a lot of questions that writers have, especially first time authors. And
Yeah,
yeah,
and do you get a Library of Congress number, and do you send your book off to the Library of Congress and things like that? Yeah, right. Good.
um, yeah, so I think those are some examples with publishing. And then, the kinds of experts we're looking for promoting anything that can help with book promotion. So for example, maybe a branding expert. Somebody can help you, you know, set up what is your brand as a writer? And, you
Mhm.
know, for a first time author, they might not even be thinking about this because, oh, I got my book out finally, and that's all they're thinking about. But, if they even have an inkling that they're going to have two or three books, or like I know somebody now who's got a couple books out and now he's going to write under a pen name. So those can even be two different brands.
Oh, yeah.
Yourself as your real self and then yourself as your pen name. And something a lot of other that some new writers don't think about is that they do need professional photography on their website.
Mhm.
This isn't one of these ones where you just upload a photo, that you took, last week when you were out hiking or something, unless that's your thing, right?
Yeah.
But, then
Your
that
books
case,
are about hiking.
exactly, yeah. Um, So branding, social media, some authors like social media, some don't, but we would love to have somebody on board who can help our authors learn all the tricks and tools. There are so many little intricate things to know about all the different social media platforms. Um, and just create that space. We do have an expert on board at Prolific Writers Life, Keiko, who does Build Your Author platform workshops every Tuesday. And in this is a chance for our writers to come in and think about how are they promoting themselves, and just to come in once a week and do a task and, get that newsletter out, get that blog post published, or do some social media or whatever. Schedule to be on a podcast, right?
Right.
Uh,
And how do you do that? Where do you find the people who have the podcasts? Yeah, right. Because there are services that do that, and I belong to one, Podmatch, which I joined for free in the beginning when they first started. And then I decided to go ahead and pay the monthly fee because I get a little bit of a commission when I um, interview someone who is also paying a fee. And, it adds up. It's or I get an affiliate fee for, getting somebody to sign up for it. But they have, the thing that I love about those kinds of services is I don't have to do the work to go find the guests. They help match me up. And I can say, oh, yes, this person and I match up really well. Or, oh, no, that person's not quite right for my podcast. And you can be a podcast guest, or you can be a podcaster, or you can be both. And so, those kinds of services can be really helpful. But at first, it was really great to just have to be there for free and there are still people who are, at the free level that are probably grandfathered in. And that's really great. But I found LinkedIn is also a really great resource. So, yeah, you need people to help you find and think about those kinds of things
because podcasts are a really great way to promote your work. There was
Yeah.
something else I was thinking of that, which when I was listening to you now, I forgot what it is. But so, do you have anything else to say about marketing and promotion?
Yeah, under promotion, somebody who loves to lead book clubs, because we have authors with books here in our community, and this is an opportunity to go to a book club where you will always meet the author.
Yeah.
So, I would love to find somebody who's passionate about book club leading. A publicist, somebody who just really understands the whole PR side of things, radio and getting in the newspaper. That's still a thing. And website designers, if somebody who really wants to promote themselves and go all out and have a good website.
Mhm.
And then the other thing is events coordinating. So for Prolific Writers Life, we have events that are happening every day, except Sunday. Typically, we don't have events on Sundays most of the time.
Uh-huh.
But somebody who loves coordinating events for writers, that would be really valuable. And that works at two levels, Lucinda, because not only do we as Prolific Writers Life need an events coordinator, sometimes writers need events coordination help with their own schedule. If they're going to do like a book launch,
Right.
in multiple cities and they need help with that,
Mhm,
how to
mhm,
keep track of everything, how to keep track of all the library, all the places you've contacted and
right.
the responses. And then certainly we've already talked about the podcast, booking, how to get help with that. Also libraries. A librarian, we had a librarian for a while and some things came up in her life and she had to move on. But librarians are very knowledgeable and resourceful people who can help you connect with your local libraries. A lot
Mhm.
of times there's not just one library, if typically you're part of a county, so that can stretch you out into your county and possibly even to libraries throughout your state.
Mhm, mhm,
So um, the other thing is bookstore managers. We would love to have some indie bookstores
mhm,
join us, especially if they have cafes where they're hosting workshops,
mhm.
or if they host virtual workshops. And then certainly entertainment for writers. One of my dreams is to have somebody who will host movies for writers, because there are a lot of movies about writers, and not only in English, but they could be foreign films.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, just kind of different entertainment for writers that we can do virtually.
mhm.
So we are seeking experts at all sorts of experts to help with all of those three levels of writing, publishing, and promoting.
Oh, wow, that's just so great. I love it. Yeah. So, because I think that there are lots of people who want to write a book, but they don't know how to get started. They don't know, they don't realize that you need to be writing on a regular basis. And sometimes you get bogged down. Like I've been bogged down, I can't tell you how many times with my second novel. And part of it has to do with it's sort my timeline in the present is sort of following what's happening in the real world. And so when something happens to get bogged down in the real world, then I'm bogged down with my novel. But you need encouragement. Yeah, it's people think of writing as the writer goes in a room and they write their book and then they get it published. And it's not really like that at all, you need support.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why we're here, Lucinda. And I would say one of the benefit for doing all of this in a group format is not only for the writers, but also for these experts, because from the writer perspective, they can come in and meet these experts and get coaching in group sessions, which
Mhm.
would not necessarily cost as much as if they had to hire each of these experts individually,
Right.
one-on-one. And the same is true for the experts, where they can do group coaching, which is what we're set up for, do this group coaching, and they can talk to 10 writers at a time, and they don't have to say the same thing 10 different times to 10 different people on 10 different calls. They're saying it once to 10 different people, right?
Right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Oh,
And still making that personal connection.
yeah, because if you happen to meet somebody virtually and then like you and I did, you and your husband came through and you were going to stay in Bisbee and we got to meet We actually got to meet in the physical world. So, if you start to make friendships virtually, it's great to be able to then meet somebody in the real world and start a real relationship with them. Because, well, it's not that, I guess virtual relationships can be real in a way, but it's nice to, be in the same room and talk with somebody. So, do you have anything else that you want to say about your business?
Um, well, we are open arms, and if somebody is interested in, checking out some of these freelance expert opportunities at Prolific Writers Life, I would just encourage them to go to prolificwriters.life
Mhm.
and, take a look at that page. We have a page for applying to be an expert. And so anybody can do that um, at whatever level. And once they do that, we schedule a meeting, we have a conversation. And like I said, the key thing we're looking for is people who love to help writers. And, you know, uh, and what we want for the writers through this, Lucinda, is that they can feel safe and comfortable that they're making good choices uh, with their
Yeah,
book.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. Okay, so we have about 10 minutes left. I just want to make sure you have said everything you wanted to say.
So I guess just to circle back just for a moment, back to the writers in the community.
Mhm.
If you are somebody who's trying to write a book and you just really aren't sure where to get going with it, we encourage you to pop into our community. You can do a 2-week free trial, check out the community. Same thing with the experts. We encourage our experts to come in and do a 2-week free trial to, get a feel for our culture, meet some of the writers, meet some of the other experts.
Mhm.
And because really, Lucinda, what we're about is building colleagues and trusted friendships in the industry
Mhm.
between the writers and the authors and the experts, because some of these budding writers might become, authors that they could work with, for their next book and their next book. Most of our writers who come into the community have more than one book in them. Um,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you only have one book, I I suppose that's a really great accomplishment. But if you're writing fiction, you want to have more than one book so that people will circle back. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask, and we only have about 8 minutes. But do you ever have experts who talk about uh, contests? Entering your book in a contest or
Wow. Actually, I probably need to add this, and not only contests, but also applying for awards. Um,
yeah, awards is what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, no, thank you. I will make a mental note to add that to my list. But yeah, entering content and also, that comes back to having some legitimacy to that as well, because
Mhm,
you can spend a lot of money entering contests or applying for awards in some cases.
mhm,
And you want to make sure that it's a legitimate situation.
right. Yeah, a legitimate organization that really is offering some real value to whoever's winning the awards or yeah. Yeah, right.
And the other thing too, Lucinda, is I got to circle back to libraries here because librarians can be extremely resourceful for things like this.
Mm.
I just this weekend attended the Pinal County Fair.
Oh.
Um, I've lived here in the Casa Grande for past 3 years, and it's the first time I went to our county fair. But
Mhm.
at the fair, they had writing contests, so there were different people that had submitted and
Uh-huh.
there were awards. So, if you submit to your local county fair and you get an award, you can consider yourself an award-winning writer.
Yeah, and
So,
that can be part of your resume. Yeah, right.
yeah,
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for talking to me again. And I'm looking forward to coming up to Casa Grande and meeting you again in person.
that's fabulous. And yeah, we do that at Prolific Writers Life too, Lucinda. Even though we're a virtual community, a lot of us we will get together face to face when we can, when somebody's traveling or
Mhm, mhm.
and my husband and I have an RV. which is how we came to see you in our
Yes,
RV.
that's right.
But yeah, we love exploring different places throughout the US in our RV, and also being remote and being able to tap into Prolific Writers Life events, no matter where we are in our RV or at home.
That's great. Yeah. Isn't it? That's one thing that's wonderful about technology. Sometimes technology is a pain in the neck, but it is so great to be able to connect with people on the other side of the world, if you want to. So, yes.
And actually, I will, since you mentioned other side of the world, we have had writers join from places like Russia, Taiwan, Brazil, Sri Lanka, Canada. So we do have people who join from other countries from time to time. We have a member now who's living in Taiwan. So, it doesn't matter as long as currently our website is 100% English speaking. So if somebody speaks English, we're open to experts from other locations as well.
Yeah. So if you've got somebody who can translate, yeah, that'd be great.
Translators, there's another whole.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, I
Yeah,
just keep coming up with things.
thank
Well,
you.
thank you so much.
Yeah, and Lucinda, I hope that we would welcome you and your husband as experts. I know you have a lot of expertise in certain areas, and as well does your husband. So um, people out there can look forward to seeing Lucinda and Barry potentially as experts here in the community very soon.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you. And thank you for being my guest again.
Thank you, Lucinda. It's such a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed the show. If you like what you heard, please share it with a friend and give us a rating and/or review on your favorite podcast app. It will help people find us. I invite you to join my Patreon community at patreon.com/storypower, all one word. Or if you like, you can subscribe to Story Power on Apple Podcasts. It's my aim to build a community where we discuss the stories we love and talk about what we learned from them. I offer extra audio content and story suggestions to my patrons on both platforms. Remember, as Philip Pullman said, after nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the thing we need most in the world. Let's spread the story love. Until next time, this is Lucinda Sage-Midgorden. Thanks for listening.